What's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope a Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. Had a little sound issue at the beginning of the video. Sorry about that. I thought I had my mic set properly, and I guess it was muted. Anyway, this is the Rope a Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. And this upload is little different than my normal uploads. This is a response video to a video made by Precise Presenter, right? And I'm going to get into the video. He used some clips from I think 3 of my videos and kind of meshed them together to try to prove a point. Of course, he missed a lot and edited it, his way. So of course, even within a couple sentences later or within the video, it's a lot of it is actually very, there's a point to what I was saying or whatever. You know what I mean? So he basically called me a Golovkin detractor. So I'm basically a Mayweather fanboy, which, you might as well use Andre Ward, to keep up with the times now. But I understand because there's Mayweather Pacquiao videos to be able to edit. But before I get into that, like I said, this is not what my channel is going to be about. Constantly responding to people and, making response videos, going on rants, having the same theme rant. And a lot of it, that's what YouTube is turned into. Now, when YouTube boxing community was getting started, there was only a handful of channels and a lot of people just watched. And slowly but surely, a channel here, a channel there, a channel here, a channel there. I was a channel. We all started kind of getting to be a part, getting on there, voicing our opinions, and being a part of a community. And in the early stages, the first couple years, it was pretty fun. You had an outlet. Everybody was really excited about having an outlet, to talk boxing. I mean, where do you get that at that time? It was very rare, obviously, right? A lot of people had already been on YouTube watching fights, whether they were old fights or fights that, they were waiting for them to put on, like live fights from the day or whatever, right? And it was awesome. It was very awesome. Now, the debates and the arguments were still intense, still heavy. It just wasn't as personal. And race didn't really come into it. At least at that time, race was more under the radar, right? Now that you look back at it, maybe you could see, well, that's why that person kept naming that fighter instead of thinking it was just a style or whatever, they liked about that fighter or whatever. So it wasn't so outright blatant racism, right? And people would do video responses all the time. They do them now. It was a little different setup to where, you hit that link and it responds to it. And it was just kind of cool. It was very topical. People would talk about fights coming up or fights in the past or just a hot topic going on, right? And I would add my 2 cents in, just like news topics as well nowadays. If a news topic comes by and I have time to do a video that I think is worthy, of debate or talking about, or I've seen a bunch of people talking about it, I'll do a video. And if it works, within your schedule in a day, right? Sometimes some news will come out and, sometimes you'll wait a couple days to see what everybody's talking about, get some, get everybody's take and then give your take. And so I really only made a handful of response videos, so I'm just for the record, I won't continue to do response videos. He says that he's going to keep going at me and exploit me and all this stuff. Basically, I'm a hater of GGG and a lover of Floyd Mayweather. And in his first video that he did of me taking clips, completely editing it very slickly, right? Very cleverly. I give him a lot of credit for that. It was funny at times too. I even said that in the message, in the comments. So what I'm saying is I've only made a handful of response videos. Now, that's not to say I don't like to debate and argue. Of course I do. I usually just kept it in the comment area, right? Or on Twitter or on the podcast, right? That just was my style. That's not to say that I don't like to debate, but when it becomes personal and you personally attack people, and it's not really about the content of their video, to me that's where YouTube went. And the reason why I bring up blood boxing, a couple of them. One, Precise Presenter is in a ongoing beef, I guess you could say, with him right now, blood boxing. I also bring up blood boxing because years ago, we subscribed to each other's videos. We watched each other's videos. He was on the original Leave It in the Ring cast, and I called into that show religiously. And so we debated, we had arguments, we had interaction, right? We communicated with each other, not on the phone, but like I said, in the comment section or on the show once in a while. And another reason why is because I responded or made videos about blood boxing back then. One of them was a video that I thought was really interesting, that he made a video kind of questioning some of the channels out there, right? And saying, what is the real reason you're on YouTube, right? Which is a good reason even today. It's a great question. What are you doing on YouTube? What are you here for? What is your main objective? Do you have an agenda, or, what's up? That type of thing. So it's kind of, I think it was like where, what, how you got into boxing, how you figured out about YouTube boxing, who did you start getting influenced by, yada, yada, yada. So I made a response video doing that. And I made news videos, right? Topical stuff as well. Maybe not necessarily response videos, but I also made a video about blood boxing because he was thinking about quitting the boxing community at that time, right? And at that time, if you remember correctly, there wasn't a whole lot of white channels. And the reason why I bring that up is because, whenever you're going to do a video, no matter who you are, you're going to get hate, right? So it's not a woe is me situation. That just comes with the territory. You're going to get hate, right? You'll probably get fake accounts. You'll probably, there's a bunch of stuff that can happen, right? And the thing is, though, I, and many others, but especially me and a white person per se, didn't really have to deal with the racist part. Now, maybe in the end, those people were racist who commented on your page. They just weren't outright calling you something of a name like that that shows the racism in their heart or whatever, right? It was more just run-of-the-mill hate, or anytime you through the years you talk about famous fighters, good or bad, you're going to get some hate. I've gotten hate from every popular fighter that there is out there in the last maybe 8 to 10 years, whether it's on the podcast, whether I'm talking about it on Twitter, whether I wrote an article about it, or whether I did a video about it. And anyway, one of his videos had been taken down. And remember, the setup on YouTube back then is you could just comment. You could leave a comment at people's page, and it was visible to most pages. I forgot if there was an option where you didn't have to make it visible. I don't think so. I think that it was, I don't remember. But anyway, I hadn't seen that racism per se, come out that strong. And like I said, to my own channel, I hadn't seen that. So I made blood boxing. Basically, he had been getting a lot of racist comments on his pages and on his videos, right? On his front page, when I say pages. And he had a video taken down. And he was thinking about quitting YouTube. Because he's like, well, I made a video that shouldn't be taken down, and these people are getting away with putting racist stuff on my. He was just frustrated and going to give up, and he said he was done. So I made a video like many others at that time, because it was a community. I'm not going to say it was tight knit. Not everybody talked to each other on the phone, but whether you agreed with people or not, you still watched a lot of their videos. Whether it was predictions or whatever, you still got something out of it. Some of this stuff, as far as watching videos, is to learn, to get other viewpoints. There's a lot of people out there that are very intelligent when it comes to boxing. Now, whether they use it for just straight up boxing talk or they have an agenda, you can't deny that. In fact, the guy I'm doing the video for, Precise Presenter, or as I knew him back in the day, Men Taking Bubble Baths or Men Take Bubble Baths, whatever it is. He's highly intelligent. You can tell. And I'm not just talking about his vocabulary, which is obvious, but his boxing knowledge. You can actually see it. I know a lot of people that don't like his channel say, oh, you don't know shit about boxing. That's not true. Just because I think he has an agenda and I think he's racist doesn't mean I don't think he's intelligent. Even the film study. I may laugh at the film study, the Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao. I believe that was one of the first videos I saw of his with his new Precise Presenter. Even that, you can tell, or even the recent one, Warden Barrera, right? The way he describes the action, you can tell he knows what the hell he's talking about. That's just obvious. So, and there's lots of channels like that I don't subscribe to them anymore. They don't subscribe to me. A lot of people went their own separate ways. The Blog Talk thing kicked in. People had issues on that as well, yada, yada, yada. My point is, at that point in time, and he's clearly going to use this blood boxing thing, right? He's going to say, because at that time, blood was just, I can't speak for blood videos now. I don't know what they're about, really. Okay? I've heard a couple of them lately, but I really, in the last handful of years, I haven't really been listening to him. Okay? Just to be honest. A lot of people, I went away for a chunk of time as far as for YouTube. But anyway, I was saying, I think he should stay. I think he should stay on YouTube. And he was a guy that obviously still now is very blunt. He tells you exactly what he's feeling. And some people, I thought, when I said it, there was a time, and in fact, I think in a comments section, Precise Presenter said he reminded me of me saying, blood's not racist. In my interaction with him, I didn't see a lot of racism there. I didn't see racism. Everyone's got ignorance in them, but I didn't see racism at that time. I just didn't. Like I said, I can't speak for a lot of channels now, and they can't speak for me because they haven't been watching mine, right? So I know he's going to use that video, and that's fine. If he wants to continue to make videos and cutting my stuff together, and, I assume the next one's going to be a longer, less edited one, I hope. Not length, but, like actually let sentences and some time go by rather than just editing it real quick to make your point. But once again, have an agenda. So basically at that point, I made that video, the racism, thing, and saying, I don't think blood's racist. And there was a time when, Blood actually was going hard on Mayweather and was Pacquiao heavy, like fight Pacquiao, dude. What's your problem? This, that, and the other, dogging Mayweather out, you know. But anyway, long story short, just in general, I saw racism in general really come to light. And then it was beef amongst channels, and it got very personal to the point where, like I mentioned, people would, the fans, instead of people watching videos of all types, they would start to choose sides. And you'd get people making fake accounts, whether it's, like I said, part of the fan base that watches it and comments, or it's actually the channel, whatever. Sometimes you never know. But they would send me messages trying to set me up by answering a question of theirs that would downgrade somebody else. And I wouldn't fall for it, of course. But to me, it was really turning on. And from that, turned me off. It turned me off. And I did start to lessen my video output at that point. YouTube's different now since I've been back since, like, I don't know, springtime, March, I think. Yeah, March, April, something like that. And it is different now, but they would, flagging, you could still obviously flag and get, things taken down, and there's new rules. But some of the new rules are, apparel and things in your video, right? Back then, if you had a shirt on and you got a lot of views on one of your videos, you could have an apparel company come to you and say, hey, what the hell? And people were trying to sick certain apparel companies on me, right? Yada, yada, yada. Long story short, I didn't like where YouTube was headed. Like I said, I made my videos. I think I did somewhere in 2013-ish is when I want to say, like, my last, I know I did some local shows, like a weigh-in and all that. But video for that, but I think it was like Mayweather Canelo or Canelo Trout, or right around there. Maybe Canelo Trout and Mayweather Guerrero, right around that time. I think I put it down then, and it wasn't just because I was sick of it. It's because a couple other opportunities came in my life, and I decided that, why don't I put this down? And also the podcast, in that time, you get busier and busier, and you do certain things towards that, And also I started writing more, and I also did some other things in other sports that I did locally here, and whether it be play-by-play or whatever, right? So I was just furthering myself, getting experience, being productive in other areas. And at times I would get messages saying, dude, you gotta make, videos. And I'd say, I'm coming back. But I just couldn't find the time to do it. And finally, now that I've gotten experience in other areas that, were good for me, I now have some time back to do this. And some of it was the uploading, some of it was fitting in into your schedule. When you do a live stream, it doesn't take long to upload after it. It's a lot more handy now. But anyway, I went away. Now, I only went away on YouTube. I still watch YouTube videos to this day, even when I wasn't doing them for those 2.5, 3 years or whatever. But I was watching prediction videos, but I was also watching other stuff because we saw a bunch of, like Elias Setback and, several other videos or channels that started to get interviews with fighters even more than Fight Hub and Seconds Out and all that. So there was kind of a wide variety of stuff to look at. Things were just recorded and filmed way more, and inside the gym was interesting to me. So I always watched videos even when I wasn't doing videos, but I was still doing a podcast every week. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was out of the boxing scene. I was writing for it, booking interviews. I've covered shows, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I'm not a boxing expert. I'll just say that right now. And like I mentioned before, there's a lot of people on YouTube that I may not agree with them, or I think that they're outright racist, right? But, and that goes for all sorts of channels, not just white channels or black channels, Hispanic channels, Asian channels. And that Mayweather Pacquiao thing exploded that. And you saw a lot of that, right? So, like I said, I'm not going to keep doing these type of videos. Now, if maybe I'll make another one, maybe I won't, because he did say, he did say that he was going to do, he's coming for me, right? And I'm speaking of, and now I'll just get into this, Precise Presenter, which I knew him as Men Taking Bubble Baths, or Men Take Bubble Baths, something like that. And I remember his videos, and they were pretty cool, some of his videos. I liked him. I liked the way he had music behind him, and I liked some of the shots and yada, yada, yada. Now, there were certain things in the video that I would comment on. And like I said, I more kept it in the comment box, whether it was responding to someone that had kind of, wanted to debate with me or argue with me or attack me, and vice versa. Me, being critical or whatever. Not always critical of everyone, but I don't go to every single channel. You know what I mean? I don't go to every single channel and do this. You know what I mean? And I've subscribed to people that, I've subscribed to him. I've subscribed to Thunderdome Boxing prior. When I first saw a video of his and started watching it. I subscribed to Dante's Boxing. Dante's Boxing, clearly, he's got an agenda. However, he will, from time to time, get a really good interview that could have some detail and interest that I could use in my podcast or in a prediction or how a camp's going or whatever. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff in interviews that you can pick up on, and it can make for a topical thing on a podcast, whatever. My biggest problem with him, though, is like many, and this is not to just separate him. As far as I know, this is the first video made about me, kind of, I'm not going to say an attack video. Well, it's an attack video, but, he has every right to make this video. Everybody has any right and all rights to make videos. Obviously, it's up to YouTube, in others, I guess you could say, getting flagged and all that and whatever. It's up to YouTube if they want to keep it up or okay it, but, you have a right to make it. And I was very critical and am very critical of his channel. So why wouldn't he respond? He responded in comment. So at some point, I mentioned him and Sean Newton and Thunderdome in a video. It was about Golovkin. It was titled Golovkin versus Brook. He uses clips from it. And it's Golovkin versus Brook. It's a money fight, plain and simple. I had done a real quick video about the news of it happening because, it did shock people, of course. Everybody thought Eubank Jr. was going to take it. He obviously ducked it. So Brook stepped in, took the same deal, and, God bless him. Good for his ass. You know what I mean? And I've called him a fanboy of Golovkin. I do think he's a fanboy of Pacquiao. Anybody that calls Pacquiao the best fighter of all time, clearly there's some fanboy stuff there. He says I'm two things: a Golovkin detractor. That's basically what the title is. And then like a, under the radar fanboy of Mayweather, right? So he made some clips. And if I were going to guess, what video he would do in this situation, it'd be the exact one he chose to do, the Mayweather Marquez. And for good reason. You had a lightweight coming up in weight, yada, 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 right? It got a lot of discussion, debate, anger, yada, yada, yada. Very similar, actually, as far as debate, in a sense, right? Very similar. So it was a good one for him to pick, right? But there's a couple things that he just, and this is what he does, like the biggest thing I have a problem with this channel is if you're going to complain about black channels being biased and then turn around and be biased towards white fighters and anti anything, or not anything, but most things black fighters, obviously the Al Heyman fighters too, not all fighters, obviously. To me, that just makes no sense. How are you going to consistently have a theme? It's one thing to do a topical thing here and there. I'm doing that right now, but I can guarantee you I'm not going to keep making videos about him. Now, I mentioned his name and overall the Golovkin fanboys, but I also mentioned in that video the haters, and some people call it a cherry pick, and this, that, the other. In that video, you can't really find too much of me destroying Brook, or I didn't rip Kell Brook and disgrace him and disrespect him and call him a fake ass fighter or something, or a chump, or, and same with Golovkin. I'll say it right now. Okay. BJ Saunders and Eubank, and especially Eubank down the wire, right, for this fight. We know Jacobs was already scheduled to fight Mora. It was just a matter of finding a date. They didn't want the fight. So why in the world wouldn't he take this fight if it's a big money fight, which is what I called it, a money fight in the UK? Now, clearly it's not going to be his big money fight here, but it is there. It's a big fight there. It's a big moment. It really could be. I mean, if Brook won, it would be, if Kell Brook wins, and I said it right in there, it's historic. But my problem with them, those three, and others, not just them, I'm not trying to just single them out, but I did in that video, so that's why I say they have every right to come at me and make a video, 100%. I totally understand that. See, to me, this stuff's not personal. Now, if I can understand him thinking I'm attacking him, getting personal, calling him personal names, but if you're showing a complete racist theme in most of your videos, and sometimes outright just racist shit right in your video, then that's not calling you names. That's not getting personal. That's an obvious thing. You know what I mean? And I would never say, unless it was like, you don't know boxing, blah, 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 in a comment, I said, maybe you don't know boxing, or you didn't watch the fights, just like the PBC. When people say the PBC is nothing but mismatches, clearly you're not watching the fights. I don't say you're not watching boxing. Like I said, I think he's highly, intellectual when it comes to this stuff. The dude knows his boxing. I'm not going to sit there and say, I know plenty of people say that he doesn't, but I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's correct. But anyway, so he clipped together what I said about Mayweather and Marquez back then. But he left out some key elements to it, of course, because, he's got an agenda. So he's going to skew it how he wants to skew it. And I'm actually looking up this article. That's why maybe, I don't know, maybe you hear me from a distance, or like you hear some movement in the background. I'm just looking up this article just to, where was it? Don't know where it was. I'll find it in a second. Just to kind of prove, basically a couple of clips of what he was saying. Just be real quick. I want to make sure I bring this up. Sorry about this. I thought I already had it ready. Boy, was I wrong. Anyway, dang it, where'd it go? Anyway, it really doesn't matter because I already know it anyway. So, no, there we go. I got it. Okay. So anyway, he uses some clips from me talking about Mayweather Marquez back then. Okay. And a big issue I had was, and not just with him, but many tried to use the Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler fight as an example and they twisted some of the facts. You know, that a lot of them, and especially him, he said, you know, what made the fight historic was the outcome, that it was so tight, and the fact that Sugar Ray Leonard pulled the upset. And that definitely helped it live on, right? But it was a historic fight and a very meaningful fight because both of those guys, Hagler and Leonard, walked in the ring to face each other as Hall of Fame fighters. You know, right when he retired because of his eye injury, I mean, Hagler Leonard was the beats, you know, the drums were beaten. You know, I mean, people were pumped about that fight. And with time off and time, you know, it just hyped it up even more. I mean, you could say similar to the Mayweather-Pacquiao. Had they done the Mayweather-Pacquiao, you know, in the first year, it wouldn't have done that kind of numbers. Let's be honest. Now, I'm not saying I like that they waited 5-6 years. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be honest. It wouldn't have done as many. So my point is, yes, the upset and the outcome, very, very competitive. It's a debatable fight that a lot of people have argued for years. That, no doubt, had a lot to do with it being historical and a memorable fight that people talk about today. But clearly, it was because the two fighters had established themselves. Now, in that video, he even tries to say, oh, now he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Because I said in Golovkin, I think I said something like Golovkin's not going to get any credit for this, you know? And it's like, well, he's not going to. If he beats Brook, he's not going to get a lot of credit. That's obvious. That's true. A lot of the stuff I'm just saying, or it's some of the stuff is debatable, but it's, you know, some of the things like a pound for pound fighter. I don't have number one in the world pound for pound. I don't have Golovkin there. The eye test puts him in the top 5, hands down. He's an A fighter based off what he's done to other B fighters and eye test, clearly. But it seems like eye test means more now, and it's all subjective. Obviously, it's all debatable, the pound for pound stuff, right? But he tried to use rankings to prove his point with Kell Brook and with Sugar Ray Leonard, right? And to me, it just didn't make any sense. Like, I understand why you'd do that, but let's, you know, rankings are rankings. And, you know, are we going to go by the Ring Magazine? Are we going to go by BoxRec? Are we going to go by other ones? There's so many out there, and it's all subjective. My point is, I don't think he's the number one pound for pound. Eye test cannot be alone. You need another top-notch dude on your resume. I'm not saying that at 160, it's his fault he doesn't have it. Could he have gone to 154 and fought Canelo like he said I could go to 54 or 68? His team, him, Abel, K2 Promotions, Tom Loeffler, they all said that. Could he have done that and beaten him already? Yeah, he could have. But I'm not going to sit there and rip the guy for not doing it, you know? I'm just not. He said he'd do that. He could, but they started selling tickets, and they edited that, and they said, hey, only for Mayweather we'll go to 45, right? That's cool. And, of course, you know, we won't even get into the Andre Ward situation that, you know, there's so much in between on that stuff and yada, 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 right? So he's calling me a detractor. And in that, you know, to me, in that video, I just say some stuff that's really pretty even keeled. Just because I don't think he's the top pound for pound guy, and I mentioned Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn did a great job securing this fight in general, considering, you know, he could have lost 2 pay-per-views. You know, he made the biggest one out of all of them. So I could understand Eddie saying one of the best pound for pound guys in the world against the best pound for pound guy. I can understand that. But to me, Kell Brook, after 36 or 37 fights, to me, He's not a top 10 pound for pound fighter or one of the best fighters out there in the world. He's just not. Eye test, he's hella good. I haven't said hella in a while. No, he's very good. And that Porter fight was impressive, some of the skills he used. He's going to need some of those skills in this fight. But that's not the strangest, craziest thing to get defensive about. Clearly, it's debatable that he's the number one welterweight. Resume-wise, Pacquiao and Bradley, I mean, Pacquiao at that time, I didn't quite know he's coming back for sure. But, well, maybe I did. I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't know. But Bradley and Pacquiao, without taking Mayweather and Pacquiao out of it, right? Which Pacquiao's back now, so you can't. But that was my point, was there's a bunch of people that haven't fought each other, and they're starting to fight each other here and there. But it's very debatable to say that Kell Brook is number one at welterweight. Now, he definitely could be. Who knows if he'll be back, at the weight class because he's such a large guy, at 147. But that's pretty agreeable. Like, you could say, I think he is. Okay, but it's debatable. Yeah, you're right, it's debatable, but that's just my personal opinion. Well, that's cool. I think it's debatable that he is the number one. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. But it's debatable. And it's highly debatable to say he's one of the best pound-for-pound guys out there, period. Even, he showed me a ranking system of 9th or 10th, And then the Sugar Ray Leonard, he said he wasn't even a ranked welterweight. Well, yeah, of course, man. When you take that much time out of the ring, and I said a few years instead of 4.5 or whatever, when you take that much time out of the ring, yeah, you're not going to be in the ranking system, but there's such a thing as building a resume. See, after one fight, beating Sean Porter, a top 5 guy at welterweight, somewhere in there, right? After 36 fights, that doesn't give you pound-for-pound status in my book. That's my personal opinion. It's very arguable. I don't know if that's true. And everybody does their rankings a different way. You know what I mean? Just like I know Andre Ward's not the number one pound-for-pounder right now. Why? Because he was out for a little bit. He was out. He has a resume, but he can't be the number one right now because he has been out. That's a fact. He has been out. So I think, okay, I think that's agreeable when people say that. Now, some people knock people out of the rankings for good. Some people just drop them down, yada, yada, yada. But he took some clips from that Mayweather-Marquez fight. And I said in the clips that it's a big fight. This is a big fight. Well, it was. It was a big fight. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I also called it a huge fight and a big fight in the UK, the Brook in Golovkin. I call it a money fight, plain and simple. That's what the video's called. So I'm saying it's a money fight. If it's a money fight, then that means it's a big fight. I said it's a big fight. He said that a couple of times. This is a big fight. It is a big fight. It did over 1 million pay-per-views. I want to say like the final number was almost 1.1, I think, in the end. You know how pay-per-views do take a while to get counted all the way up? It was reported well over 1 million, but I think it got to like 1.1, and the gate did very strong. I want to say, I'm not looking this stuff up, just to be honest. Like 6 or 7 million, something like that. It was a strong gate, something like that, right? So that tells you it's a big fight. And we won't even go down that path too far on resume. The resume of Marquez at that time and the resume of Floyd Mayweather at that time. In what was this, 2009, right? Clearly, Marquez was more experienced at the top levels of the sport coming up in weight than Brook was. And clearly, Golovkin and Mayweather, their resumes at that same time, obviously, his was better, Mayweather. That's not really arguable. It's not argued. There's no argument there, right? So I said a couple of things in that clip that he clipped up, right? That he, edited together. I said, you got two Hall of Famers. Well, they were Hall of Famers at that point, right? And I said from about 126-ish till about 140-ish, on the way to 147, those two guys were very highly accomplished in that era, right? I think I was saying area then, not era. But it's true. They were very accomplished. And I also think that I like chess matches. And one of the biggest complaint beyond the weight, which was obvious and true, right? That the biggest complaint about it was, or one of the biggest, there's two, the weight, and then also, which by the way, I'll get into, we didn't know what the weight was going to be until the very end. We didn't know. So he has me saying a bunch of different weights. Well, we didn't know. We didn't know that. See, he loves to leave out certain facts that can be easily explained. But to me, in my opinion, from 126-ish to 140-ish at that time, they are the elite. And just in general, in this generation, during their generation, Marquez and Mayweather were elite counterpunchers. Name me better counterpunchers in their time. There's not many. I know Slick and Speed and people are going to go to Rigondeaux and all that. I don't think he's proved it against as many top level guys as they have. But either way, I knew it. I figured it'd be a chess match too, and I like chess matches. So I was saying, I totally understand. I remember plenty of people say, "Nah, I think it's gonna be a boring fight," and I said, "I get it. It could be a boring fight. The chess match, it could be too slow, right?" But I did think, and see, I'm willing when I preview something or predict something, I'm willing to say I'm wrong. He talks about betting in his videos a lot. Well, it's a fact that if you're a bettor, right? If that's what you do, you're a gambler, you got to be right 55% of the time at least, right? So there's no shame in getting something wrong. And at the time, I did see Marquez coming out of his shell more, which is a fact. He did come out of his shell more. So I figured this was my take on the fight, that I think it'll be more competitive than people think, and that he will come out of his shell a little bit more. And I did think it would take a little while for Floyd to get adjusted. One, because he had been out of the ring, and the last couple of times he had been in the ring, he'd had a lot of injuries, right? And he was out of the ring, and not just that, but he also got a rib injury. So I remember adding to that, going, you know what, dude, maybe this is going to be more competitive. And another thing is, people for his whole career wanted him to face another counterpuncher. They wanted him to face another guy like him to see how he matches up with that style. Now, I was wrong. It was a mismatch. I think both style match up in with the weight, clearly. But when I say he's got me on the clip saying 140, 142, 144, whatever it's going to be, I think that, the catch weight, which is what they told us it would be. But remember, and I'm going to read this article just to refresh your guys' memory, or really refresh his, because most people probably listening to this remember exactly what I'm talking about. But the reason why I was all over on the weight is because we didn't know the freaking weight. We just heard catch weight. But if you hear Mayweather talk, it didn't sound like there was a catch weight. In fact, I remember, and that's why I'm going to quote out of this article, because I couldn't find the video. I didn't want to search too long for it. But I remember Mayweather it was at a press conference. I believe this is I think it's a teleconference that I'm going to read from the article, some quotes. But he was looking for a poster, the fight poster at the press conference, saying, it says welterweight. Well, obviously a catch weight, anything 140 would make it welterweight. But he said, I'm weighing in what the hell I'm going to weigh in at. So you were like, what the hell? There's a lot of confusion. It was like, What the hell's going on? And I actually think, and I said this plenty of times, sometimes a lot of times on my podcast, just because I wasn't, there was a time where I wasn't making videos, right? Large chunk. And at times I wouldn't make videos about everything. And he he shows me at the post, he shows me talking about the post, and I was real quiet. Sometimes I'm real quiet late night, especially in that arrangement where I was living right, in a different area where I was trying to be quiet, and I said, well, there's not much to talk about. Well, shit, look at the fight, dude. There wasn't much to talk about, but I was wrong. I was wrong. I definitely was wrong. And obviously the way Marquez put the weight on, clearly, however he got to 147 in the future, he handled that weight a lot better. But he was getting knocked down a lot, even at 130, 135, and on the way up, right? So to use that, to sit there and say me saying it's a big fight. Well, it was a big fight, dude. It did 1 million pay-per-views, man, and it did a really large gate. So I would qualify that as a big fight. I was wrong about Marquez. And he says, he got beat. He got into the pocket so early because, Floyd takes a while to get inside the pocket. Once he's there, he actually doesn't move as much as people say. And I didn't think he would get in the pocket that early. I didn't think he'd knock him down that early. I was wrong. At least I'm willing to say it. The last couple, I'm not saying you've never admitted when you're wrong. I'm not saying that. But when you hear the comments before the Terrence Crawford Postal fight, right, and after, not just the prediction, but the detail in which he broke down the fight, D-Style summed it up with a video not long ago saying insurance. You got insurance on your picks. Well, I said that if he did this, he was going to win. So basically, if Crawford was going to run like a chicken all night, he'd probably get the win. But go back and listen to the detail he says about how Postal's this and that and the other. And there's no disrespect to Postal. I thought it was going to be a tight fight too. I was wrong. I picked Crawford, but I was wrong as far as how it played out. Who cares, man? I don't make my living matchmaking. On Twitter and on YouTube, everybody's a professional matchmaker now. Everybody's a professional matchmaker, as if they rely on it or have ever relied on it for their income or portions of their income. And it's funny. And someone will call a mismatch, turns out to be a good fight, and then it's crickets after. But my point is, if you hear what he said about that fight, he said, oh, people are saying I got my prediction wrong. No, I didn't. So you can't admit it. I'm not saying you've never admitted a fault or something you've been wrong on, but look at the Frampton Santa Cruz. Now, if you're not being biased, okay, I've already said, and I mean it, I definitely mean it, that you are very knowledgeable in the sport. Like I said, that film study stuff, I may not agree with everything you're talking about, or you miss somebody lands a jab that you're not looking at or wanting to look at, and you won't count that. But the way you describe the action, it's impressive. I'm just being honest. I think he's racist, and I think he has an agenda, but I can't deny the other stuff. And also the Santa Cruz, here's a prime example. The Santa Cruz-Frampton fight. He says Santa Cruz got robbed. But we all know in a tight fight, nobody gets robbed. Now, if you want to go the scorecard robbery route and say the scorecard's way too wide, I don't know, that's cool. But to sit there and say he clearly won that fight, Santa Cruz got robbed in that fight. Well, my guess is he picked Santa Cruz. Guess what? I picked Santa Cruz. I don't know if he did a video for that per se. I don't remember. But I did, and I picked him. And I thought Frampton won. It could have been a draw. Could have won it. It was a tight fight. I want to see the rematch. But nobody got robbed in it, dude. Tight fights, you can't get robbed in a tight fight. You can sit there and rail on the scorecards all you want, but you can make a case for both guys winning or it's a draw. And to me, there's no robbery in that. You see what I'm saying? So the whole point is, you know, I call it a money fight, the Kell Brook. Like, there's really not even a lot of, I don't disrespect either fighter in that video that I made of Golovkin Brook. I call it a money fight. Well, they're both getting their career high paydays. So I'd say that's a money fight. I don't think that's a strange thing. I give Brook a lot of credit in a variety of ways. You just check out my prediction video. I don't have him winning the fight, but, you know. And like I said, if you're going to go with rankings to make your point, do we really want to go there? Do you guys remember when, does BoxRec still have Canelo #1 fighter? I don't know. I don't really look at too many of them. I just saw it in the video and went and looked and said, oh my God. I remember, I want to say as high as 6 or 5. The Ring magazine had Adrian Broner at like 5 or 6 or some shit like that. So are we going to go off just rankings and that's it? So I said it's debatable that he's a pound for pound fighter. Personally, I don't think if you're going to have to put him, you're going to have to put him low in the top 10, whether it's 10th or 9th. I just think people are more established. In fact, here's a point. Case in point, Carl Frampton, look at how many fights he has and look at his last 2 wins. Now, you can debate whether you think Santa Cruz or Frampton won, but on the books, Frampton won. Right there, those 2 victories are better than what Brook has. Am I that off on that? I don't believe so. I think a lot of like-minded people who don't have an agenda and aren't pushing something would be like, yeah, I could see that. That's true. See, there's a point of defending yourself and getting defensive. And like I said, I'll argue with somebody until the cows come home. I mean, some people will write some stuff on my channel I won't even touch. It's not many things, but there are some things I won't even touch. But I've gotten into heated debates, arguments. I just try not to get too personal with it. It's not personal. I'm being very critical of his Thunderdome, Newton and Precise Presenter. I've been critical of I've been commenting on their videos. In fact, I remember Newton back in the day. Like I said, I remember the men taking bubble baths account, right? And I'm not trying to just point out him for changing his look, because a lot of people changed their whole agenda, changed their everything, changed their name, changed their thing. When I came back, it's called the Rope-A-Dope Report, and maybe I don't have KG21 Carlito, and it's just my normal name, but I said my normal name in the videos anyway. So, and like I said, you can go back. Addressing the Mayweather thing. You know, I got a lot of heat, a lot of us did, when the drug testing came up. In that first round of negotiations, when Pacquiao clearly did not want to take the test at that time, a lot of people were ignorant to that stuff. Now, it's similar to the IV with Mayweather. I didn't know IVs were illegal until I saw the document, or not the document, but the WADA rules. I didn't know that. I didn't cover it a whole much. I mean, I wasn't doing. I mean, just calling me a Golovkin detractor, right? And calling me a Mayweather fanboy, basically, right? A Flomo. If I'm such a Flomo, why in the world, when the actual fight got made, why didn't I make a Mayweather video? Or why haven't I been making Mayweather videos a couple of times a month? Or liked themes the same theme basically in a lot of, and I'm not trying to single you guys out, although I did in videos, and I'll own up to that, of course. But a lot of people do that. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Asian, Eastern European, German, a lot of people, go one way with it. But if I'm such a fanboy of Mayweather, why didn't I make these videos, dude? I mean, if I'm ever, don't get me wrong, I probably did like a Mayweather versus Pacquiao prediction and news because, it was a hot topic for years. So things would come up in this round of negotiations or whatever. So I probably made, this is just totally offhand, probably made 10, 12, 13, 8, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 15 videos total probably on Mayweather versus Pacquiao stuff, right? And I wasn't throwing them out every other day per se, right? And Mayweather, I have videos of him, but I also have videos I made of Manny Pacquiao. I remember, I want to say I made like a top 10 or top 5 most exciting fighter. He made that. I also remember making a video of saying how he is very much improved and how some of the weight training he did at the lower weight classes, you could tell it was actually paying off, that he was at a higher weight. And Freddie had calmed him down and in the right hand. And so I actually made videos. But when it came to the drug testing, there were some things that basically the innocence stuff, I was past that point. And here's why. Not that he wasn't innocent or not. I'm not alleging anything of Manny Pacquiao. But what I'm saying is, sometimes boxing fans don't watch other sports. And hey, that's cool. No problem. I do a college football show, turns into college basketball, NBA playoffs and finals and all that stuff. Quick little plug there. I do like other sports. And when this came up, some people had paid attention to all the steroid use and the enhancer use in baseball, and some didn't. Some people, boxing's their number one, and that's all they like. Hey, God bless you. No big deal. I'm not ripping you. But that's the case. And obviously, when you deal with Mayweather, fan club members and also Pacquiao fan club members, you're going to get people that are in the sport fresh, new, just started watching. They love Pacquiao. They love Mayweather. We got a lot of that, right? So I used to say, well, he didn't fail the test. Barry Bonds, he didn't fail the test. They didn't fail tests. Well, I didn't realize that the test, there wasn't shit to the tests. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if you didn't fail a test when they're not testing properly. And even when they are testing properly, you can pass the test, or like I said, they just weren't testing that well, if any, at times. It was real easy to cheat the system, is what I'm saying. And also other things like, you just think of the big dude hitting the home run. And I can tell you what I think went through, Barry Bonds' mind. He's looking at Sosa and McGwire and saying, I'm 2 times the player of these guys. Before he blew up and got all huge, he basically had damn near Hall of Fame numbers, or he was on the average to get in the Hall of Fame. And he was a hell of a player. Way better hitter, way better everything than Sosa and McGwire. That's a fact. Okay? But in the late 90s-ish, mid to late 90s, they were getting the attention. He saw Sosa, he saw McGwire. They're breaking the records. He said, F this, dude. I'm a join. If I can't beat him, I'm a join him. And that's what I think he did. Okay? That's just my opinion. Now, you just run it. If you went to ESPN.com or you watch ESPN, or even if you weren't a major avid baseball fan, which I'm not. I watch the Twins. I'll watch a tied game in the 8th, yada, yada, yada. I don't watch a lot of baseball. I did when I was a kid, but I don't as much now. And I didn't realize pitchers were doing it. I didn't realize the the effect that, rehabbing injuries and getting back from injuries. I didn't realize a lot of stuff, right? So when it came around to Manny Pacquiao not wanting to take the test and them trying to schedule tests saying, we'll take one at the press conference, we'll take one sometime, and we'll take the night of the fight. Well, that to me sounded like a guilty person. And I'm not alleging anything. I'm just stating my opinion on something. Okay? And then when I start to see him moving up in weight classes and I really start to think of it, I start to think, man, he kept his speed. He kept his power. His power may have increased. What he did to Miguel Cotto, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. And Bob Arum, Freddie Roach, a bunch of people, HBO, a bunch of people were saying, these are the tests that we've taken through time. Don't make up new tests, even though, Holyfield had some, I think, didn't Tyson? I believe Tyson made him take tests. I don't know. Either way, even the tests that they took and would have been taken, clearly, if you're not year-round, 24/7, random blood and urine, it's not that effective. And even when you do that, it's not like it's sure proof. It's not like a for sure thing. So I was skeptical of Pacquiao, but it wasn't a biasness towards him or a biasness towards Mayweather. It was just like, hey, just because you didn't pass the test, just because you're passing tests, and the test was ridiculous. Obviously, the testing that they do outside of VADA and even USADA, which has had plenty of their issues, and the IV, when the IV thing came after the Pacquiao fight, that information came out. Well, I had heard Mayweather say in an interview that he took an IV, that he was dehydrated. So when I first heard the news, I thought, wait a second, this is public knowledge, dude. He already said it. But then I read the WADA protocol stuff, and I realized, oh, okay, just like the Povetkin situation. Oh, okay. Okay, I had no clue about this stuff being banned or what you can have in your system or what's been even studied about it, all that. And, he makes some other clips in the video. He talks about another thing, back to the Pacquiao or the Mayweather Marquez, that I called wrong. I did think it'd be more competitive. I did. And I was wrong. But he has me saying, whatever I liked it that it was a catch weight. At least if someone's coming up, the fact that Mayweather, theoretically, we were told anyway, that he was going to catch weight with him. So I thought, okay, well, if you're going to do this type of fight, a catch weight, I'm not crazy about catch weights. Sometimes they work perfect. Sometimes it sucks. Whatever. Sometimes it's clearly a disadvantage to the other guy, and this is what it was. I was wrong about it. Big deal. Now, he has other fights at 147 where his body was just fine. But the way that training camp, I wish I would have done the video over after seeing some of the training camp methods of gaining weight. But anyway, here's an article just to give you an example, because I said 140, 142, 147. Another point I had was the hand injuries. And he jumps the clip. He jump cuts to me going, Floyd, he's got hand problems. He's been fighting since a kid. And it's true. You have more detail about Star. You could go back to many of my videos, right, and find me giving more detail on a more known fighter. Because I said, that old story about him hitting the speed bag when he was a little kid on a chair. Literal, or obviously he's had hand problems, and the reason why I was saying his hand problems, I wasn't making excuses for him. I was saying he doesn't have a lot of power at that weight, right? Now, he had knocked out Hatton, but Hatton was a come forward right into the punch type guy. That wasn't going to be Marquez, even though I thought he'd get out of his shell more. That wasn't Marquez, right? So he's got me, caring about Mayweather's hands and the clips, but I'm mentioning that and giving a little more detail because I'm saying he's not a power puncher at that weight. So I don't think it's a dangerous fight. I was wrong about it, but was it a dangerous fight? Did he get knocked out? In fact, when he got knocked down, he got up and hit Mayweather with a good shot. Mayweather said it after the fight that, hey, dude, I knew he was still sharp. I had to take my time, and he wasn't running the whole time, right? But that's why he's got me caring about Mayweather's hands, right? But I was proving a point that he's not powerful per se at that weight, so I don't think it's that dangerous. But I said a bunch of different weights. Why? Because we didn't know the weight. We didn't know the weight. Okay? And here's something from the LasVegasSun.com. I basically put in Mayweather Marquez, what's the catch weight? That's what I Googled. And this came up. It wasn't first, I don't think, but it came up. And they were talking about the catch weight of Pacquiao and Cotto and how that stuff is usually figured out, like a contract. It's basically like the same thing as a venue, a date, a time. That's obviously going to get figured out. And this was what was messed up. That's why I didn't know what weight it was going to be at. And by the way, before I get into that, he has me saying, because I talked about the undercard, and I thought that people were overreacting to this fight as if it was going to be dangerous, to this guy, and how this is a horrible fight, this, that, and the other. And I thought people were overreacting. I did, and I said, there's why hate on this fight that much, just like I said in the Golovkin, there's no point in hating on this fight. Why wouldn't he take this fight? 160 dudes didn't want it with him with Golovkin. So why in the world wouldn't he take this fight? And he's got me saying gossip. I mentioned a couple fights that were, out in the news and rumored. And I even say rumored before I say it, but he's like gossiping, rumored. As if you haven't said it. All of us have said some fight that was rumored in a video, getting sidetracked or giving an example or whatever. You say it in the video. I wasn't gossiping. I said it might have a decent undercard. I don't know. There's just a couple of clips that's what he does, But anyway, just to read from this a little bit. It says, usually it's real easy to figure out what the catch weight is. Yet the promoters of another major bout scheduled for the second half, yada, 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 have been unable or unwilling to state the weight limit for the fight. This has created an air of mystery around Mayweather Marquez that's either intriguing, troubling, or downright bizarre, depending how you look at it. And here's what Mayweather said at the freaking teleconference. He said, I'm not weighing at 143. This is, I believe this would be after I made the video. Actually, what's the date on this? I'm not sure about that. The date on this is July 24th, 2009. Okay. Is that right? Or did I say June? That doesn't make. Yeah, that's right. Because it was July 19th originally, or something like that, but it got pushed back to September. That's right. But anyway, because of the injury, that's another thing. He had a rib injury. He says it's a welterweight fight, which still at a catch weight, it still would be obviously. I'll weigh what welterweights weigh. Whatever I come in weighing, that's what I'm coming in weighing. I don't have to weigh 143. And I remember, not in the teleconference, but I remember in the press conference, he turned around and was like, hey, where's the poster? It says welterweight. I don't know what you guys keep saying, And basically Schaefer, Oscar, they all couldn't answer it. They're just saying, basically that maybe even this fighter says maybe the secrecy, the shroud of secrecy, was designed to build interest in the weigh-in for the fight and just in the fight in general. This is what Schaefer said. It kind of reminds me of that Chavez Jr. weigh-in when Bob was like, This will be the first weigh-in that we won't know the weight until we weigh, then we'll mark the weight. Well, this is very similar. It will be the most covered weigh-in ever because everybody wants to know what the weight is. So make sure you don't miss it. Don't miss the weigh-in, right? And this is what Marquez said. There's an agreement between us, and it's a welterweight fight. Anything over 140 is considered a welterweight fight. Everyone's going to find out come weigh-in day, right? So to me, we didn't know what that's why I was all over the place with the weight when I was talking. I said 140, 142, it's a catch weight. I don't know. I didn't know. And I said after that, I don't know if I said it on video because, this whole time I did a weekly podcast. So sometimes it's hard to keep it straight. But I'll say it then. I said it then and I'll say it now. I actually think that Oscar, Richard Schaefer, Floyd, and Marquez's people screwed him over. And they knew he's a warrior. They knew he's a no-nonsense guy. They knew he would just take the money and be cool with it. And then that's what it turned out to be. They said it was 144. He was 2 pounds over. He had to pay him, But it was a lot of, I don't know. So I was wrong on that fight. But to sit there and say I was so excited about that fight and I'm shitting on this fight, I'm not shitting on the Kell Brook GGG fight. But once again, skills pay the bills when it comes to moving up in weight. It's not just weight, it's also skill. And highly skilled guys can do that. Right? And Marquez would be that highly skilled guy. And that was his first time up there. And we know after that he performed pretty well at that weight. Right? And as far as the whole Mayweather thing, it's just, I remember even saying, it really matters. I think I said this in the clip that he had. I said, as far as fighting Mayweather, it's all about how you fight him. If you Maidana him, right, or if you're a Ricky Hatton Maidana fight who's going to push you on the ropes, who's going to just go head first in you and go wild, he's going to have to throw more punches. But Pacquiao, he's an aggressive, assertive fighter, but they're not the same. Maidana and Pacquiao are not the same. He tried to do a little clip of that fight, and we all know Manny is not the same guy coming forward as a Hatton or a Margarito or a Maidana, right? It's a different style. Is he aggressive? Yeah, but he's more in and out using angles. Now, he'll hurt you and then get you on the ropes and then spaz out, but let's not act like he was cutting rings off all over the place. I mean, did he have Marquez trapped a good chunk of those fights? Yes and no. But Marquez was also able to counter the shit out of him. And just to talk about those fights, the second fight, Pacquiao, Marquez, many people think Marquez won the fight. I'm in the minority there. I actually thought that Pacquiao won that fight. I'm also in the minority where I was okay with the draw in the first fight. I thought the first 2 rounds and a couple rounds after that, maybe. I know there was a scoring issue, and Pacquiao should have won the fight just based off that. I realize that, but I'm in the minority saying I was good with the draw. And I think it's debatable that Marquez maybe won that fight. The third fight's kind of strange. It seems like the communication and talk and stuff I've seen about that, when I've talked about that fight with people and seen it in forums and all that and yada, 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 it seems like people are really either on one side or the other, and it's like a clean win. We know what happened in the fourth fight, but here's another biasness that comes out of you clear. And this is what I'm saying, fanboy and all that for. Pound for pound, greatest fighter ever is debatable. But I have yet to hear, and that I'm not saying, there's no way we can ever say, yep, you're right, any of us, right? Of course. But you say, that's a fact, by the way, a lot during your videos. And I've never heard anybody that has boxing knowledge, which I know you do, a ton of it. I've never heard anybody say he's the best pound for pound fighter ever. I've never called Floyd Mayweather the best pound for pound. I wouldn't put him in the top 10. Neither of those guys in the top 10. I just wouldn't. So, long story short, and I'm kind of getting lost all over the place in this thing, but you basically edit clips together perfectly, and I give you credit. Like I said, I actually chuckled during it at times. That clown thing, that shit was funny. You did a good job, but you left out other stuff within there. I'm assuming that the next video you're going to at least let me talk on my videos a little bit more and run into something. I know the blood boxing thing will come, me saying positive stuff about blood and yada, yada, yada. But the point is, dude, it's like, oh, I know what I was going to say. One more thing. I can't remember all that. I made a couple notes here, but I can't really remember that. But anyway, as far as the fanboy for Golovkin or the fanboy for Mayweather, or I'm sorry, no way, Pacquiao, the fourth fight is a perfect example of it. And I'm not saying that you've never said, well, and this is all alleged, by the way. I'm not claiming anybody cheated. I'm not reporting anything. This is just my thoughts, my opinions. And recently, somewhat, and it's hard to keep track. As Tito Garcia, which is another guy that I don't agree with every part of his method, but Tito did do what you try to do to me, but he let the stuff play out a lot more in your videos. And also, I wasn't talking about Marquez in a bad way after that or something like you were with Andre Ward. But anyway, and there's bad stuff to say about Andre. I'm not saying that. I just think you guys go way over the top. Like, Boutte, he ducked Boutte. Okay. Where's Boutte? Is he still an elite guy? Where was he during the Super 6? I'll tell you where he was. He was almost getting beat by solid B fighters. He was fighting Glenn Johnsons of the world. He was fighting guys that were past their prime or just okay. He got that seriously home cooking where he should have been knocked out, yada, yada, yada. You act like Boutte's this elite fighter and still unbeaten. Froch took the fight. He was smart in that situation. Obviously, Ward didn't like some of the terms. I'm not going to sit there and debate that. He didn't take the fight, but to act like, oh my God, he ducked Boutte. Like that's like Boutte's still out here unbeaten, with all these great. What is Boutte's best win? Answer me that. Riddle me that. Anyway, the fourth fight is a perfect example of you showing clear bias. Like everybody says, everybody has bias towards a style of fight. If you got an elite come forward fighter, an elite counterpuncher, I'm probably going to go with the elite counterpuncher. Yeah, that's biased, but it's also historic. Sometimes, a good chunk of them, percentage-wise. I shouldn't say sometimes. Majority of the time, that's how that's going to go. But that's neither here or there. Here's my point. And I'm not saying you never said that, man, in another video. I don't watch every inch of your video, every second of your video. But I've watched a fair amount of them. I got caught up. I want to say that Floyd Mayweather, I think I saw it in the boxing forum on boxingscene.com. Someone saying, Manny Pacquiao, it was like a forum topic, and it said, Manny Pacquiao won, and here's proof, slow motion proof. And I think that's the first video I've seen when you weren't men taking bubble baths. You had turned, I heard the voice and I thought, I've heard that voice before. I remember a video of you and Joe Habib going back and forth. I remember hearing about your new video, your new account then. I don't know what happened to your old account, if you deleted it or if it got shut down. I have no clue. But I do know you're different now. And I think Tito Garcia did a pretty good job at that. But And like I said, I don't agree with everything, with every method and everything that comes out of his mouth. Nobody agrees with everybody. That's okay. We just don't have to get overly personable. So anyway, not long ago, I heard you talking about that Marquez and Pacquiao fight. I believe this is also I want to say Thunderdome and many other people, and me included in a sense here, right? Because people think, like I said, I'm not alleging anything, but people think that Marquez cheated in those fights. The third and the fourth, by the way, not just the fourth, but the third as well. And this is my opinion. I think he did too. If you look at his body and you look at who he was with, yeah, I do think he was. But to me, I think he was Barry Bonds to Mark McGwire, looking at Mark McGwire and looking at what's his tits? What's his toes? Sosa. I plead the fifth. I don't know English when I get on the stand. I only know English when I'm talking amongst everybody. That's what Sosa did. McGwire did too. I plead the fifth. But he had to come out. Anyway, my point is, I think if I can't beat him, I'm going to join him. And personally, that's what I think he did. But I think both of them were. And that, knowing that there wasn't strength, like that third, there wasn't testing in that third, right? Was there VADA testing in the fourth? I don't believe so. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. But it showed up in the third fight. You could see the physique look a little different. But for you to only see one side, and like I said, maybe you've done other videos where you said both. I'm just taking this little part, okay? I'm not denying that maybe there was another video where you said this exact thing. I don't know. Okay? I don't know. I'm being honest here. But I recently heard you in a video, and I believe it was Thunderdome as well. And like I said, many others, that they say, he was basically a science experience. He was juiced through the gills. Marquez was. And I think he was. But I think he was just joining them. If you can't beat him, join him. And that is a possibility. Even if it was VADA testing the last 2 months, we all know that doesn't mean shit at the end of the day. It's a great step in the right direction. But we all know you could have cycled in and out before your camp started. Now we all know that, right? Meanwhile, you got HBO taken away. A couple years ago, basically they're calling Floyd a pussy for this same stuff, drug testing, right? But then Marquez actually, Lampley on the Fight Game, took away his Fighter of the Year. He wouldn't let Marquez have the Fighter of the Year on his show because of the potential, cheating. Come on, dude. I'm not saying that's your fault. But to sit there and say, oh, he was juiced, so Pacquiao wasn't? I mean, just call a spade a spade. Call it like it is. Everybody's out here talking about, let's keep it real. I keep it real. I tell it like it is. All right, then that's not the craziest thing to think they were both cheating in that fight. But that's not how you described it in this one video. Like I said, maybe you agree with me. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if I'll do more response videos of him. He said he's going to get me. I never should have put his name in, I never should have used his name in a video. And I'm sure, like I said, he has every right to do it. I did use his name in the other two. And I addressed, Golovkin fanboys in that thing. I get it. Totally. And I'm sure you're going to go back to the Mayweather-Pacquiao. I got a lot of shit for certain stances, even saying that I think he beat him. I think the style matches up really well for Mayweather, And there's another thing, dude. You keep saying that Pacquiao beat Mayweather, dude, in slow motion. Come on, dude. If that's not fanboy, what is, dude? I don't think TBE is TBE. I don't think that. And, we could all go back to each other's channels and find something we said that we've changed our mind about. I guarantee it. Or there's sometimes information that comes out later through a negotiation process or whatever, right? Whatever it is, that we change our mind. So I could go back and look at mine and go, yeah, that's not right. And maybe that's what some of the things that Tito Garcia was putting up clips. Maybe maybe he edited in a certain way. I don't know. I don't remember all the videos that you used to make or when you deleted them. But what I do know is somehow, some way, your account is not men, taking bubble baths. It's Precise Presenter, which I do like that intro and I do like the name. But clearly, and I'm not trying to just point you out, there's so many people that either came, Thunderdome did it the same way, and they saw something, whether it was one video that sparked a bunch of hits, whatever it is, they changed their persona. They're chasing hits, right? They changed their persona. And like I said, you're not going to see me. I'm admitting that this is not, I haven't done a bunch of response videos, and I don't plan to do a bunch. This is way longer than I thought it would be. And like I said, if he keeps coming at me with videos, maybe I'll respond, maybe I won't. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just being honest. Maybe he'll make something so blatantly off that I can make a 3-minute video and explain, whatever. But anyway, it's not personal, man. Whoever you are, Precise Presenter, men taking, but whatever it is, it's not personal, man. It's not personal. I can understand, and if I'm calling you a name like racist, I think that's different because a lot of people can see the clear racism in your videos, dude. And I'm just calling it like it is. You make videos all the time about people getting into their feelings, but then you're emotional as hell on you're screaming half the time on your videos sometimes. I mean, come on. You're getting into your feelings as well. We're all passionate about this stuff. And yes, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Eastern European, German, whatever the hell, wherever you're from, there's going to be a percentage of those people that make a bunch of videos that are biased towards their nationality. It's okay to cheer for your nationality. A lot of black channels get a lot of guff from that. Some of the black channels call it like it is, and maybe they're going to cheer for their guy. What's the big deal? Some of the black channels are very biased towards a black fighter, and that's it. Some of them say outwardly racist stuff. Not all of them, though. Not all of them. And same with, plenty of white channels. And like I said, I just went through a list of a bunch of different, cultures, nationalities, religion, whatever. My point is, I'm not trying to personally attack you, dude. But I understand if I could understand that, maybe you think that is hating on you. Maybe you think that video, which I think people should, I'm not saying go watch because I'm trying to get hits, but if you're really like-minded and you're just watching the video, can you really find me destroying Brooke or Golovkin in that? I mean, I compared Golovkin to Hagler because there are some comparisons. Just like there's Sugar Ray Leonard and Brooke. They went from welterweight to middleweight. That's the comparison. That's all. That's it. And he's taken on the top middleweight. But that's where it stops. That's where it stops. He doesn't have the resume or the skill level at this point that we for sure know because he's done it. He just doesn't. And this is how Golovkin, I said in that video, I'll repeat it now, so in case this is a long-ass stupid video at times, I'll just admit it. But, and I'm sure you'll use that clip, the last thing I just said. There are some similarities with Golovkin, One, Hagler and Golovkin. One, they both took the hard way up. Now, we know Golovkin had a great amateur career. What, he win the silver medal? But, he had some promotional issues right away. It took him a while to get going, right? Same with, that old story about Hagler, being on the undercard of Sugar Ray Leonard, and you look at their money that they both made that night. What's his toes had to take? Hagler went to Europe, got a bunch, won a title, got booed, got robbed, a bunch of stuff. They took the hard way up, and people love that about them. They're all about their business in the ring. They got power. They're the blue-collar guy that a lot of people love. So there's your similarities. Now, I just think that he was more accomplished than Golovkin. That's all. That's all. At that point. Maybe Golovkin will be more accomplished at that point. I do think welterweights and junior middleweights can come up. Historically, yes, they have came up. They have came up. And that, like I was saying about a certain thing that comes to mind when you say something or have a mindset, a thought, right? I'm all over the place. It's getting late. You have a mind, you have a thought, a state of mind. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But so you have that, right? You have a thought and you go, man, I know he's a big welterweight, but that's kind of a surprise. Like he's going to jump those weight classes, right? But then some information comes out and it makes you change your mind. And what would that be? The 30-day weigh-in. 176, was it, right? And even the last 7-day, he was, 6-7 pounds over, something like that. That made people change their mind because you can't always just listen. See, some people like to listen to a clip from a promoter and just use that clip to make it work with what they're thinking or saying, right? But you can't always do that. Eddie Hearn was trying to tell everyone that he was a big welterweight. Well, we knew he was a big welterweight. We knew he was strong. We could tell how he was able to clinch Porter. But many of us didn't realize, and I don't think anyone could have actually, not many people out there could have said, I want to see the video of people that said, just wait till you see that 30-day weigh and he will be 176 pounds. I don't think too many people thought he'd be 16 pounds over the 160-pound 30 days out. That's all I'm saying. Show me all the videos. Like I said, I think you're very knowledgeable at this weight stuff too. I have a little experience in wrestling as far as making weight. So I have some experience with that too. But, that I'm trying to use an example of, okay, now that changes my mind on the fight. Okay, shit, he is a big dude. And is he putting too much muscle on? Will it slow him down? Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I'm out of here. Like I said, I don't know if I'll make another response video. He's said that, it's on like Donkey Kong, basically. And I'm sure he'll use that clip too to try to make me look dumb. But I did a long video talking about stuff, a variety of stuff. And a good chunk of it was about you and what you're trying to accomplish in this video and in your channel. I didn't use clips. I didn't skew stuff. I didn't do a lot of that. So if you're going to keep making videos, the least you could do is let the thing go for a while. Not use a clip and then have a sound from a different clip or, like jump cut all the time, jump cut to me talking about Floyd's hands, but there's a reason I was talking about his injured hands because I didn't think it was a dangerous fight for Marquez because Floyd didn't have a ton of power at that weight. And some of the reason why is because he was wearing either bigger gloves or he had hand issues, dude. It's no secret at 147 that, or in that realm, that he doesn't have a ton of power there. He hadn't had real power in a while since the lower weights. So you skew your little edit stuff and make it work, but do an hour video or something saying, hey, this is why this guy hates Golovkin and loves Mayweather. You're gonna go back and you're gonna use my Mayweather Pacquiao videos that I refuse to delete any of my videos. Now, I've deleted some videos based off they didn't turn out right or whatever. I'm not saying I haven't deleted it. Just the other night, the sound didn't work on a college football thing and I deleted it. But I'm saying I'm not going to go back and all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm going to go delete my stuff. I'm going to delete that Marquez video, that Marquez Mayweather video. So, like I said, can you sit there and just talk about all the ways? Can you sit there and just talk instead of just using clips? I don't know. I'm sure you're going to use better clips this time, though, as far as, longer clips. But like I said, man, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. And I don't know if I'll make another response video. Anyway, peace.